In this video, we will look at two dividend stocks, AT&T and Verizon. We will look at their dividend, we will look what kind of return we can expect from both companies, and then we will look at their current valuations. So let's get started. First of all, if you are not subscribed to the channel, you can do this by pressing the subscribe button under the video. You will not miss a single new video. Okay. I believe a lot of investors are buying AT&T and Verizon for their dividend. So first, let's look at their dividend yield and their payout ratio. Let's start with Verizon Communications. Verizon has a dividend yield of 4.86% at the moment of writing the video. It has a low payout ratio of less than 50%. Payout ratio is the percentage of the income that is paid to shareholders in the form of dividend. The lower the ratio, the more stable is the dividend. So Verizon has a low payout ratio of less than 50, which is something that I want to see in the dividend stock. Okay, now let's look at the dividend of AT&T. Right now, AT&T is spinning off its Warner Media business, so we will look at their dividend after the spin-off. Management is projecting for the dividend for 2022 to be 1.11 per share, which implies the dividend yield of 4.6%, but that is including Warner Media business. If we subtract 24%, we get the dividend yield of close to 6%. So the dividend yield after the spin-off of Warner Media will be close to 6%. What will be the payout ratio? Management is projecting for earnings per share to be 3.10 to 3.15. If we subtract 24% of the Warner Media business, we get the payout ratio of close to 47%. So AT&T will have a dividend yield of close to 6%, while Verizon has a dividend yield of 4.85%. Both companies have low payout ratio. Now let's move to the next metric. We will look at return on capital employed for both companies. Return on capital employed shows how much capital is needed to generate profit. So the higher the return on invested capital, the more effective the company uses its capital to generate profit. This is something that I learned from Terry Smith. Terry Smith is the famous author of book Investing for Growth. This is single most important metric that he uses when he selects companies to invest in. Also, according to Charlie Munger, if you invest in a company that has a 6% return on invested capital, it is very likely that for 30 years you will also receive a 6% compounded annual growth rate. So return on invested capital is a great indicator for the future price performance. If we will look at Verizon, we will see that it has return on invested capital of 9.1%, while AT&T has 7.9%. So according to this metric, Verizon manages its capital more effectively than AT&T. Okay, now let's look at the current valuation of both companies. We will use free cash flow yield as the valuation metric. Next 12 month free cash flow yield. For Verizon, the current free cash flow yield is close to 8%. If we look at the same metric for AT&T, we will see that it trades at around 12% free cash flow yield. So according to this metric, AT&T looks much cheaper. But if we look at the same charts and compare both companies to their historical averages, we will see that both companies are trading at around their fair value compared to their history for the last 3 years. For example, for Verizon, the highest free cash flow yield for the last 3 years was 9.59, the lowest was 6.31, the average was 7.81. So right now, the current free cash flow yield is very close to the average free cash flow yield for the last 3 years. The same applies to AT&T. Its free cash flow yield is very close to its average free cash flow yield of 11.74. According to these metrics, both companies are trading around their historical averages free cash flow yield. Okay, both companies have high and stable dividend. AT&T will have a high dividend yield of close to 6%, while Verizon has 4.86%. They both have low payout ratio of less than 50. If we look at free cash flow yield valuation, we will see that AT&T has lower valuation than Verizon, but both companies are trading at around their historical averages. Also, I have made a video on AT&T and its recent spin-off of Warner Media. Here's the video. A very interesting situation there. If you are not subscribed to the channel, you can do this by pressing this button right here. You will not miss a single new video. Thank you very much for watching till the end, and see you in the next video.